L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V-E, L-O-V-E, love. It's kind of an amazing thing. But do you love yourself? This is a tough one for a lot of people because the self is this thing that you can outsource a lot of anger and frustration and hatred towards, and you don't really see that come up until you realize that, dang, fundamentally speaking, perhaps I don't love myself. So by the end of listening to this episode, I hope that you can kind of walk away with some tools to love yourself or work on loving yourself, because it is not a flip of a switch kind of thing. It is a very big evidence-based thing, and we'll definitely get into that. To start things off, no phone dinner check-in. So last night when you ate dinner, did you have your phone with you? If you did, it's a big thumbs down, you guys. You know that the phone is supposed to be away during the no phone dinner, which happens every single evening. And if you're not eating dinner, well, just spend some time away from your phone and pretend like you're eating if you're on the fasting grind. So no phone dinner check-in. Also, yesterday was the craziest day ever. I woke up at 3:30 because I had to bring my girlfriend to the airport for 4:15, and woke up. Owen got up to, my videographer, ice bath, run, captured the whole thing, brought Sammy to the airport, came back, went to the gym, filmed that, came back, had philosophy club here at the house, and then spent 6 hours filming a skit called Chuck the Mechanic. That's going to be in this week's YouTube video, but if you're listening to this podcast, it will have already been posted. So definitely go check out my main YouTube channel, because, I mean, this is Hollywood level stuff, you guys. It's about 30 seconds long, but we spent so much time making it the most cinematic thing ever. The concept is hilarious. The acting is grade A. I mean, it took up the entire day, but it was the most fun day in the world. And I woke up this morning a little bit tired because of the shortage of sleep yesterday and a couple days leading up to that. And then this morning, it was another day of keeping some promises, and sometimes those suckers are heavy. But to get back to the point, to love yourself, I would say the first thing to think about is data. So data drives self-image. Data drives self-image. Think about that for a second. What you think of yourself right now is literally a product of everything that you have experienced, everything that other people have done to you, everything that you have done to yourself. So that's the data set that creates your self-image. If it's a bad self-image, then you have bad data, and it's not something to beat yourself up over, but it is something to consider. And I think seeing this as data makes it really, really, maybe not easy, but it makes it very accessible to build more self-respect, build more self-love, kind of repair your self-image in a sense. So keeping promises is probably the best form of this evidence, because when you keep promises to yourself, it builds certainty within yourself. And when you have certainty within yourself, there's this accountability aspect that really is the foundation of most people's respect for other people, most people's love for other people. And that's how you can build that within yourself too. So if you utilize keeping a promise as the data builder for liking yourself, loving yourself, respecting yourself, then you'll find that it's simple, very difficult, but simple. So it's not super complicated, which is beautiful, because there's some peace of mind within the hard work of building love and respect for yourself. So you keep a promise. Yesterday would be a perfect example. I wrote a newsletter about this too, so I feel like I'm kind of a broken record. But when you keep this promise, it means a lot. So that's why it means a lot to me, and I talk about it all the time. But yesterday, woke up at 3:30 for the whole airport thing, and the whole video we filmed was about, well, I have these promises that I've made, and not keeping them would be, I mean, clearly poor data that I would be building into my self-image and just simply what I think of myself. So I keep the promise. It is terrible at 3:30 in the morning to get in a bucket of cold water. And would I do that every single day? Of course not. Is it a little bit unreasonable? Of course. A little bit crazy? Of course. But that data, keeping that promise when the difficulty of keeping the promise gets way higher than normal, well, it's a lot more compelling data. So now I not only keep my promises on the normal days, which are pretty hard, but when a little bit of an outstanding day comes along and it's way more difficult than that, I still keep the promise. And then I can look back on hundreds and hundreds of days of doing this over the last many years. And I go, damn, dude, I'm pretty resilient to what comes my way. And when you can build that for yourself, first of all, there is the respect element of, damn, I get after it. My word is valuable because when I say something, I mean it. I do it. I follow through. When I set expectations, I follow through. There's a respect element. That's great. The main point of this podcast is the love aspect. Well, think of it this way. When somebody else shows up for you so consistently, you not only have respect, but you have love for them because you feel nurtured, you feel cared for. So when you show up in that way for yourself, you are nurturing yourself. You are taking care of yourself. And that is a very, very powerful thing. And I don't think it's so easy to see it this way unless maybe you're listening to this podcast and then you take these ideas and kind of embed that into your daily life. But a lot of times the negative ways of self-treatment, I guess, they don't become so obvious immediately. So maybe you skip a workout or maybe you eat a shitty meal or whatever. It builds bad data, but it doesn't slap you in the face with it. So it's one of those things that on any given day of, again, skipping the gym or eating poorly, it's not going to seem like the world changed. So you'll feel more and more okay with doing that. But then 5 years down the line, every single one of those little mini decisions compounds into, oh, damn, I fundamentally don't look out for myself, or I fundamentally don't respect myself. That's really hard. And when you're in that place of having spent years and years building the bad data, really the way out of that is to build really good data and kind of organize it this way in your brain so that you can know, okay, I'm not expecting to eat healthy today and then it changes my life, but I'm expecting that today's good eating is a part of a big data set that I'm trying to build over years that kind of combats the negative data. I'm not trying to paint the human experience as kind of a computer or just put math to it, but there is something to the evidence of our self-image. Again, that comes from what happens to us, how we treat ourselves, the things we experience and see. So the self-love concept is so interesting because I think a lot of people try and fudge it. Just make yourself love yourself or read some affirmations that almost trick you into loving yourself. And it sounds kind of harsh, but if someone says, I don't love myself, I never say, oh, well, love yourself though. You have to love yourself. You're worthy and all this kind of stuff because they've heard that a million times. And yeah, hearing nice things from other people is kind of a nice temporary dopamine hit, but it's not going to fundamentally change anything for me to say, oh, but you're the best, you're amazing, because if they don't believe it, it doesn't actually change the way that they view themselves. If you do not love yourself at a fundamental level, I'm not going to sit here and try and force it on you and try to do some mental gymnastics. I would rather say, hey, be more lovely to yourself. You know what I mean? Love yourself more. Don't expect anything in return right now because you're going to have to treat yourself well without feeling like you get something back until you love yourself enough to where it is a fulfilling experience and there's kind of a you and you bond. It's a very weird concept and it's hard to explain sometimes. But yeah, I don't like just giving baseless compliments in most cases. I would rather encourage somebody to build something very real that they can then look at and say, wow, I think after months and months and years of treating myself better, now I do love myself because I actually have a reason to. And the mental gymnastics thing, it's very common. People run into trouble. They run into years of maybe building some bad data. They find themselves in a place that they're really not happy about. They're really not fulfilled by. And a lot of people's encouragement, because people don't like to prescribe real work and people don't like to receive the prescription of real work, it's to just try and fake it for them. Oh, you don't love yourself? Well, just, I don't know, just tell yourself you love yourself 10 times a day and then figure it out. And then magically you're going to think differently. And it's just not true. And people spend a lot of time trying to do the mental gymnastics, find the workarounds, where if they just put all of that workaround discovery energy into the actual building of evidence that makes them love themselves, they'd probably be way better off. But, it's, do I do the work that helps me actually change? Or do I do the work to change my perception of reality so that I don't have to do any work, but I don't know, I change what it is to think I love myself in a way. It's just not productive. And it's pretty misleading, and it's unfortunate that a lot of the, I don't know, soft, careful culture of social media that just encourages people in a stupid ass way, super popular, but I don't think it works. And so I think my approach in my clients that I work with, in my community, in my friendships, relationships, is to always be speaking from what would be the opposite word of based a based kind of perspective or advice or just having conversations that lead people to do the real work, building a strong foundation for themselves. And so I've run into this very interesting experience, I guess, personally, to where for the last, my whole life, honestly, I've treated myself really well. It's always been a huge priority of mine, is to treat myself like gold, because I've seen that does wonders, and it really does work. And so I can say I love myself. I can easily say that because of the evidence that I've built, because of the care that I've had for myself over the years. It's a very luxurious feeling, I guess you could say. I have a lot of gratitude for my past self that has led me to continue loving myself in a way. But something weird that I thought about that will happen from time to time is, let's say I'm cutting potatoes or something, I don't know, and I slice my finger open. I'll see that I cut my freaking finger. The thing is bleeding all over the place, and it's not like it hurts or anything. It's not like it's super tragic, just cut your finger. And I feel bad for myself in the way that I'm another person, as if I cut another person's finger. It is the strangest kind of guilt. And I think it's because I see my relationship with myself as kind of a treatment and a receiving. So I treat myself a certain way, so that's an active treatment of someone, which is me, and I'm receiving that. So I kind of see this duality between give and take version of myself. And I do love myself. I do care for myself. So kind of hurting myself, it makes me sound like a psycho, but I almost feel bad for the version of myself that I'm giving that cut finger to. And again, it's not in a tragic sense, but I feel a little bit of a, oh man, I mistreated myself, and I know it was an accident, but I feel bad just like, again, committing an accident to another person. So it's super weird, but I don't think this is a concept that's talked about a ton, because I don't think a lot of people get the opportunity in their life to, first of all, know what it is to build that kind of self-love, but to actually spend years and years building that. So really interesting stuff. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a weird thing, and I can't remember. I might have made a video about it on Instagram, but that would have just gotten misunderstood Believe it or not, I know the short form content is just the home of understanding and deep community, but I digress. So I'm looking over at some notes that I have here. They're just making me laugh. So the next little section of stuff I wanted to talk about is kind of referring to this advice that people give, and it's super baseless encouragement sort of stuff. So I said debunking fake ass shit you hear. um, how the hell are you gonna love yourself if you're not lovely? So it's going back to what I was saying about the evidence thing. How are you going to love yourself if you're not lovely, if you're not loving, if you don't give love to yourself? I mean, it's crazy. I guess in some ways the family dynamic can kind of override this because there's this bond that's maybe different from a friendship or a community-based thing. But family, it's your blood, and I don't know, you can love somebody that treats you really poorly, and I think that happens a lot more in that kind of context. But I don't think that is really available within the self, and I don't think that the love that comes from kind of a transactional up and down roller coaster kind of relationship, even within a family dynamic, is optimal. And I think there can be a much better form of love found within that. But what was I going to say? How the hell are you supposed to love yourself if you're not lovely? Yeah. So if somebody treats you really poorly, you're probably not going to love them, especially if the relationship started in that kind of way. Let's say it's a blank slate kind of thing. You meet somebody and they just treat you like shit. If you have respect for yourself, of course, that being the blank slate, and then they treat you poorly, you're not going to build love and admiration for that person. I think that's pretty simple. So I try and use this dynamic of seeing your approach to loving, respecting, liking somebody else and trying to build that at least as a tool into how you organize your own relationship with you. Again, that can be overridden in some weird ways, but generally speaking, if somebody treats you bad, you're not going to like that. If they treat you great, you are going to like that. If you treat yourself bad, you're not going to like that. It's a little more complex because it's pretty damn subconscious. And again, it's a bit sneaky, so it builds over time instead of being super obvious. But if you treat yourself like gold, you see that and you go, okay, all right, I showed up for myself. That was pretty cool. And again, maybe it's not world changing by any means, but every single time you do that, you see a little glimpse of, oh, okay, I like myself for that. I'm glad I set myself up for success there. And then that compounds over a lot of time. And then a few years later, you find yourself going, damn, okay, I'm not half bad. So that's a pretty nice luxury there. The next little thing I have written down here says, you don't have to do anything to earn being valuable. And then in huge parentheses, all caps, it said, the fuck? So this is something you hear a lot, again, in kind of this soft culture, Instagram, I don't even know, baseless encouragement kind of world. You don't have to do anything to earn being valuable. Bullshit. That is not true at all. You can go back to prehistoric times and see that is definitely not true of the humanity that we've evolved from and into, in that if you don't provide value, if you don't provide some sort of benefit to the community that you're born into, to the family that you're born into, to the tribe that you're a part of, whatever context we're speaking in, that's you're not going to be seen as valuable, plain and simple. Now, the value of human life definitely is there, but you have to understand that we are social creatures. We are creatures that seek survival. We are creatures that seek progress. And if your life isn't reflective of any of those things, then you're not going to be seen as valuable. compared to if you were providing that value to yourself, to other people. I just don't think that there's a workaround to that. And it makes me seem like the bad guy because I'm going, oh, well, you're not valuable until you do something. But I mean, we all know that the person who's out there trying to save the world and make people better and have incredible impact is probably a little bit more valuable than the person that just continually dismisses their opportunity to become better and I don't know, treat other people really well and have good impact and learn new things and progress. I don't think there's a workaround for that. Now, if we want to talk about fundamentally day one of life, one baby versus the other, I mean, obviously that could be a little bit reductionist, I guess, of the point that I'm trying to make because yeah, one cries and one is calm. I guess you can't say, oh, this baby is more valuable because it's not screaming all the time. But I think we reach an age of autonomy, and I think the choices we decide to make within that autonomy, it kind of defines how valuable we are, or at least how valuable the decisions we make are. And I think there's quite a realness to that some people try and get around. And then you see on kind of the opposite end of this extreme confidence where people say, oh, I don't care what people think of me. That's also very, very stupid because, again, we are social creatures. We do not exist in isolation, or we're not supposed to. I guess when we do, we see that a lot of problems come out of it. If you don't care what other people think of you, you're just an unskilled person in any kind of social environment. Because it's one thing to be able to see through people's projections, and that becomes very transparent as your self-respect grows. So people can say mean things, or you can make a video on Instagram and a bunch of people just call you mean names and stuff. Yeah, you go, I don't really care what people think of me. Yeah, maybe that's more of a defense mechanism than a fully productive way of thinking, because when I post something on Instagram and 100 people are just pissed off at me, well, I don't just take their amplitude as gospel. I don't just say, oh, what they're saying of me is true. I hate myself so much. But I do go, well, this particular subset of people don't seem to like what I said. Let me dive into that a little bit. And it doesn't mean that you have to land on, oh, they were right. You can easily say, oh, well, they totally missed the point of what I was saying. I do that pretty often because, again, a 30-second video rarely captures the full picture of what I'm trying to say. So you can still conclude that you are certain within yourself and your statements, but to not care about what other people think at all, again, pure defense mechanism. Because you're not trying to grow and understand and have nuance and be able to communicate. It's more of a, screw that, I'm doing my thing. I don't care at all what people think of me. And it's really just silly. I totally care what people think of me. The people that I respect, of course. People that I don't respect, that's more of a, yeah, you can think whatever you want. Your opinion is not going to have that much of an impact. But to productively exist in society, to be able to improve on the things that you want to build, to be able to evolve as an individual, you should probably care about what other people think. So to kind of speak on what you should actually do a little bit more specifically to love yourself, I talked about this at the beginning, but keep small promises to yourself. It's not that you have to run a marathon every single day. I mean, I run at least a mile every single morning. I do an ice bath and I wake up at 5. Yeah, it sucks, but I get to look back on years of showing up for myself. And again, this is a luxury that very few people experience. I was thinking about it the other day. I do jujitsu, and I was rolling with the instructor, and I mean, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? He's been doing jujitsu for 20 years or something, or probably more than that. I don't even know. And yeah, I'm 190 pounds. I'm athletic. I feel very capable, but yet this dude just has me pinned on the ground with my arm behind my back, literally incapable of moving. I'm going, this is insane. And for him, that's baseline. Being able to do that is a full baseline. And I think, holy crap, He spent 20 years getting choked out or trying to not get choked out and choking other people out and breaking arms and freaking knees. And now, look at the luxury that he gets to experience of all of that hard work. 20 years of that kind of hard work. And now, if it comes down to it, I'm pretty certain he's going to take care of business. I haven't put in that work yet, and I envy having put in that work. So I feel very, again, this luxury of having shown up for myself. You can build that for you. You can absolutely build that, and it just comes down to keeping small promises. Give yourself 2 or 3 things that you have to do every single day, no matter what. Write in your journal for 10 minutes a day. And if you cut your leg off, write in your journal for 10 minutes a day. And if the world is on fire, write in your journal for 10 minutes a day. And if you're having the worst day you could possibly imagine, write in your journal for 10 minutes a day. When the world around you and external forces are an emotional roller coaster, this volatile up and down, but you keep a promise, and that is a constant straight line, you're going to have a little bit more respect and a little bit more love for you. And you can't deny that. It doesn't, it would be impossible to spend 365 days showing up to that journal and writing down your ideas every single day, no matter what happens, and not respect yourself more. It'd be impossible. So it's a free ticket to liking yourself more. What a beautiful thing. So keep some small promises. And again, I talked about this earlier, but if you have bad data, you got to outwork the bad data with good data. And there is a little bit of the fake it till you make it. I mean, I know I used that earlier in kind of a negative context, but the fake it till you make it thing is just overriding the bad data. So if you have poor self-image, you then have to override the way that you feel enough to be able to treat yourself well, enough to be able to build good data that then turns into a genuine like or love or respect for yourself. So it's always about overriding the negative emotions that, again, are perhaps built on real evidence, real data, enough so you can build better evidence and better data in the other direction. It's freaking hard. It simply is difficult, and I think life is difficult in every context. To sit on a pile of bad data feels like shit. To try and outwork the pile of bad data, that also feels like shit. But you can respect yourself and love yourself, and eventually you can just feel like shit about other things, as in waking up every morning and just doing the hard stuff. But that's physical. It's responsibility. It's pretty human versus, I'm dying right now, but it's in the context of sitting on the couch in the air-conditioned room. So, the pain in the ass kind of stuff that leaves you with peace of mind is a lot better than the opposite of that. If you spot weaknesses in the way that you live, behave, communicate, whatever, the best thing you can do is jump on those things immediately. So you almost have to build this cueing in your mind of, oh, I see something that I'm doing wrong. Boom, I'm jumping right to that. It is an immediate jump. It is an immediate jolt in your body to say, no, I need to take care of this. Because if you leave things for too long, it starts to stack. Today's Sunday is my laundry day, so I'm always thinking about freaking laundry. But let's say you wash and dry your laundry every week, and then you just lay it on your bed. And then you do it again, and you just lay it on your bed, and you keep taking a couple garments from the pile, and you wash it, dry it, throw it on the bed. Eventually, you have a stack of laundry that hits the ceiling, and then you have to spend a whole day trying to organize things and put it away. Whereas if you just jump on it, if you take it out of the dryer and you grit your teeth and just fold the frickin' clothes, I'm talking about it as if it's, military training or something, but I hate it, so it holds weight for me. But you grit your teeth and get on it and you take care of it and you put it away. It's a breath of fresh air. It was a little bit annoying, but you override, and now you have a clean slate. That is exactly how you have to approach your own weaknesses. If you see that you don't know how to communicate, boom, immediately start filming yourself every day, learning how to talk, being very cognizant of the way that you speak to other people. Be very aware of the words that you use, trying to avoid the filler words, the likes, the ums, the you know. I do the you know quite a bit. I'm trying to crack down on that. I used to do the like about 1,000,000 times a day. The first podcast I ever recorded with a friend of mine, I listened back after thinking it was awesome, and every other sentence, yeah, it's like when you like, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is so bad. So the next month, all I would think about when I would communicate with people was not saying like, and now I don't really say it that much unless I'm comparing to something and saying, oh, it is like a whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but where the heck was I going with that? Oh yeah, jumping on your weaknesses. So again, you see a hole in your personality, you see a hole in your behavior or your routines, figure it out, jump on it, nip it in the bud, because you do not want that to grow into a pretty strong chunk of your personality over time once it compounds. That is just completely not ideal. Lastly, you just need to know that every decision you make, it has an impact and it compounds. So if you mess up, look, it's not that big of a deal if you change it up the next time and you actually build on that. But if you mess up and then you allow messing up to make you think that messing up is more and more okay, then you're conditioning yourself to not like yourself as much. And again, the small good data where you say, oh, I showed up for myself, but it doesn't change everything. Maybe it's not a celebration or this world-altering kind of good decision. You got to know that still makes a difference. When you're doing the right thing for such a long time and you're still not getting the reward, please keep making the right decisions, because that will compound and you'll reach a point where you go, dang, you know what? This is real. It was not a big surprise birthday party kind of feeling of, oh, I acted well and then my life changed immediately. But you're going to see after years and years of treating yourself like gold that you resemble gold a little bit more. And just don't do the bad version of that, because if you treat yourself like shit, you might resemble shit. So that's all I got. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I hope that you can walk away with this and at least use some of these perspectives, some of these mental framings to treat yourself better, to see that things are not going to always change immediately. The things, the work you put in, it's not going to pay off directly, but it pays off in a really big way once that compounds, and you just got to give it time for it to get there. You got to have the patience to do so. And when you can be one of the few people in this world that actually takes what I'm saying and puts this into action, you have a pretty uncommon life. You have a pretty uncommon respect for yourself, and you have a pretty uncommon love for yourself. And you can also walk away knowing that I love you. But maybe that's a baseless statement of admiration, and I hope more so that you love yourself. So to end off the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button so you don't miss next week's podcast. I do one of these every single week. I just jump on the mic and start chatting, and hope that it changes the world a little bit. And leave a like. I'd appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, if you hate me, make sure to leave all of those good things in the comments. And if you're listening or watching on Spotify, I would really appreciate if you gave the show 5 stars. That helps me out, I think. If you have something to say, you can also comment on Spotify. Would love to hear from you. My newsletter, I mentioned it earlier, but I write 2 of those every single week, doing the deep dive on all the things that I care about. The link to subscribe to that for free is in the show notes and description of the pod. And yeah, you just sign up, put your email in there, and then twice a week I ship out my ideas to you. It's a good way to screenshot some stuff, write down some quotes that you like, pull some things away from that in a format that's a little bit more digestible and quiet instead of a big long podcast or some content in other realms. So subscribe to that. Again, link is in the show notes and description. And a very important part that I mentioned earlier, it's 3 words or 4 depending on how you see it. No phone dinner, or no phone frickin' dinner. Look, If you're eating dinner, you don't need to be on your phone or your computer or listening to something. Don't bombard yourself with more noise. Create more space. Space is the characteristic of a successful life. Okay? So please create more space. Don't encourage more noise. Maybe you're with your family, beautiful. Maybe you're with your friends, beautiful. Maybe you're all by yourself, beautiful. All three of those are great options to sit your ass down and eat your dinner. Appreciate your meal. Don't involve more noise. Bring your life down to humanity for a second. Just listen to the small noises. Look at the texture of the wall. Look out the window. I don't know. There's a lot to be found in those little moments, and it's a beautiful thing. No phone dinner. I do it every single day. And, maybe my roommates are at the table chipping away at the computers while I'm eating, or they got something funny on the phone, and I say, no, thank you. You got to wait till I'm done eating because I'm being a human right now. So make sure you put the phone away when you're eating dinner. Make sure that you love yourself. Make sure that you have an incredible day. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Love you. I don't like it. Oh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Uh-oh. Oh, I forgot something. My private community is an incredible place to meet other people that really care about being amazing and evolving and learning to communicate sharply and succinctly. So if that's something that you would be interested in being a part of, you can apply at the link in the description and show notes of this episode. I am working really hard to build a very workshop kind of environment where it's people getting together, again, workshopping all of the big problems, obstacles, questions of life in relationships and self-improvement, routine, habits, mindset, all of that beautiful stuff. So if you're interested, give it an apply, give it an application, and I can't wait to see you there. Bye for real.